Warning, this video contains scary clips. And if you'd like to spice things up, every time Emma says vibe, take a shot.
Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another tier list. You guys really enjoyed the last one. So basically I've got a lot of comments over the last few months asking about what films actually scare me, because I do rate films on personal, originality and scare. Scare of course is very subjective like the rest, maybe originality not so much, but scare is definitely subjective. And I did actually sit down to structure out a video about what movies I rate as the scariest. But I found that I feel like I've already got this list, and that's films I like the most, my 9 and 10 out of 10 movies. I felt like the list was almost identical. So I thought it might be a better discussion to try and categorize these scares and really get into it today, have a conversation about what films are scary and why and what kind of scary. But there is a twist, you decided the movie. So today we're talking about movies that you think are scary. On my community channel, I asked you what is the scariest movie ever, and I got so many responses, over 500 within 24 hours. Thank you so much. And a lot of them were the same. So I feel like it's very overwhelming, the films that you find are scary and that we're going to discuss today. So let's just get into it. Okay, so here's the categories. This is really hard because there's no sliding scale for how much something scares you, except for Nightmare Fuel, which you'll see is at the top, an ode to our friend Vicky. But obviously people are scared by different things. So something that is really atmospheric, like The Witch, could scare someone, while that might bore someone else to death. And someone could be scared by jump scares, while someone else might find that predictable. So it's not really a sliding scale. I've tried to make it that, but they are interchangeable to some people. So keep that in mind. So Nightmare Fuel, obviously something that gives you nightmares, something that stays with you, something that gets under your skin, and something you think about days after. So this is the height. This is the films I find scariest. Scream Fest is a film that really gets you when you're watching it. So it's all about the, it can be jump scares or an overwhelming scary situation. It's really the next two, which is thrilling and jump scare, kind of mixed together. So thrilling is a film that isn't ultimately scary, but it is thrilling. So you're on the edge of your seat. It could be like a chase scene, or just something that is just very intense and has your heart like in your stomach, but you aren't necessarily like scared and covering your eyes. You're just, or maybe you are, you're just, it's got your heartbeat racing. And jump scares, I put jump scares as the title, but I had this before as 1 or 2 scares. I just wanted to put something in there that a lot of horror movies, unfortunately, are guilty of this, where they just focus on 1 or 2 heightened moments, and it's not a whole film that's scary. There's just a couple of scary moments. And then the last one is chilling. So chilling I thought would be good because there's some films that just have that aura to them, where the whole film just feels icky, something's looming, but it's not very scary. Maybe a couple of scary moments, but the whole thing is more about the vibe. I hope that makes sense. Again, it can be interchangeable because a lot of people might like that looming dread feel. I think that that's scarier than jump scares or it being thrilling. But let me know what you think. I tried to keep gore and disturbing off it because I feel like those are aspects that we've gone over so many times. So I'm trying to go more deep into the actual scare factor of the films instead of how disturbing the content may be. So let's start at the start. This is A Quiet Place. Quiet Place to me is a film that is more directed. I mean, there are 1 or 2 jump scares for sure at the start, but I do think it's more of a thrilling film. It's not one that holds like a deep atmosphere, but it's one where there's a lot of chase scenes. There's always a threat of danger, but it's definitely not a big scare film. You see the monster in daylight several times, and it's not the monster so much that scares you because it doesn't look, too disturbing. It's kind of weird looking, but it's not the monster itself that scares you. It's the monster getting the people. I think that one is straightforward for me. Annabelle Creations, this is not Annabelle, the first one that we saw that was released in cinemas. This is the prequel. And this one I actually really liked because I've seen it in cinemas. I don't think it's a great film by any means, but it is such a fun popcorn film. I did find there were a couple of moments that really scared me. So I think that this works well for jump scares. It's definitely a jump scare kind of film for me. If you have not seen The Autopsy of Jane Doe, I really recommend it. It is set in a morgue where a body goes missing, and we don't know if something paranormal is going on or what the story is of this corpse. It is It's equally thrilling as it is chilling to me, because it's so, like, just think about that situation. It just feels so icky and like something is definitely wrong here. I wouldn't say I was screaming through it, and it definitely has 1 or 2 jump scare moments, so it falls into a lot of these categories. But I would say it does really give me the chills. Like I'm kind of, yeah, I've got the chills right now. So I would put it more in chilling than thrilling, or would I? I think I would. I think it's an overwhelming, like, dread kind of feel. Let me know what you think about that one. I know it's at the bottom, but technically, again, these can be interchangeable. Next, we have Candyman. Candyman, for me, it's not a scream fest. It's not a film you scream through. It is a chilling film, but I am going to put Candyman here, and I'll tell you why. Before you type, I'll tell you why. I can't wait to read those comments, by the way. Candyman is actually the definition of nightmare fuel. Candyman turned into a game, you know? Candyman, 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 you know? In the mirror. It gave kids nightmares. He haunts the apartment block. He haunts people's lives. He transcends, like, horror, you know what I mean? He transcends worlds. He's just... I think Candyman is like an icon of nightmare fuel. I'm doing it. I'm going with my gut on this one. Next was Climax, which I think of more of a disturbing film, which is why I've not got that category. But I really want to, you know, get into what's scary about this film. So if you have not seen it, it's a French film about a bunch of dancers that are in this secluded, I believe it's like a school hall or a community hall, dancing one night for practice. And then someone spikes their, I think it's sangria, someone spikes their drinks, and a couple of them go on a really, really bad trip. My favorite director does this one, Gaspar Noé, and he has a thing for putting people in these situations that are downright disturbing, but he also has a thing for the visuals. And you'll find this is going to be a pattern. None of this is really based on sound or any of that other design. It's based on these moments, that scene. But it's based on those moments in film that really shock you, that you go home and you cannot scrub out of your brain. And I think there's a couple in Climax, but for me, it's like 1 or 2 big scenes. The rest is kind of like hypnotic, downward spiral to just a disturbing vibe. I wouldn't put it in jump scares because it's not like they jump out. It's for that, I'm definitely going to put it in thrilling. I think it's a more of a thrilling film. I know a lot of people would put it in nightmare fuel though. Evil Dead, this is another interesting one. Chilling for sure, but more thrilling than chilling. What are we talking about? There's jump scares, but I think that Evil Dead goes beyond this because the way it's kind of paced out, it does start scary, but some of the stuff, it just keeps going. And for some people, that would be nightmare fuel. I don't find it to be nightmare fuel because when I turn off the TV, I don't think about it. But when I'm watching it, it is terrifying. And for me, I think that's like definition of a scream fest. A film you go into the cinema, you cover your eyes or you scream your head off, you're bouncing around your chair, kind of, you know, fidgeting, can't control yourself. But as soon as you leave the cinema, you're okay. There may be some images stuck in that noggin, but you'll be fine. Halloween. Now, this one's hard because as you can see, a bunch of these, majority of these are from the last 30 years. And these are obviously chosen by you guys. Halloween, for me, is not a film I watched as a kid. It doesn't have that nostalgic factor with me. Films that I would have found scary as a kid, they're not on this list at all. But I understand a lot of people would have found this scary for its time. Halloween for me isn't scary. I would still put it in thrilling because he is looming. I don't think it's chilling. It's not that kind of, you know, hair at the back of your neck. I don't think it's jump scares. Although they do have a couple, they definitely have more than 2. I don't think it relies purely on jump scares. It's trying to get psychologically into the viewer's mind. Next is Hereditary. This was the biggest recommendation. Everyone said Hereditary in the comments. I have seen a lot of hate for Hereditary. The people who probably don't like the film and aren't scared by the film probably are scared by Halloween. It's just a different momentum that they're used to or that they like. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's all people like different things. That's totally fine. But Hereditary for me is 100% nightmare fuel because when I left the cinema, I checked my backseat of my car. It stayed with me. I was, for days, you know, it's scary. I think I had a nightmare that night, but it's the imagery. The imagery in Hereditary, it's not one moment, it's not 2 things. It's just, It starts and it's a psychological down spiral, and it may damage some people. Alex Wolff, who's in the film, had to have therapy afterwards. It's just a scary movie. And you know what? If it wasn't in Nightmare Fuel, it would be in Chilling, because it has that atmosphere that is just so hard to escape. But it does stay with you when you turn the film off. 100%. I mean, I checked my back seat. I haven't done that since then or before that for so long. Next is Insidious, and Insidious kind of, it's funny because when I look at Candyman, I kind of think the same thing, only because they're both kind of in this dream kind of world. I know that Candyman is in real life, but they both kind of transcend, obviously in a very different way. I don't think Insidious is that scary. I do think it has 1 or 2 jump scares. For me, I was not screaming the whole way through, but I was jumping here and there, so I'm putting it there. Sorry, I'm seeing some James Wan kind of action going on here. Next is The Grudge. The Grudge is the original Grudge. Ju-on. Okay. This, Chilling, yeah. Nightmare Fuel, probably. The way this boy's mouth opens and the cat noise that comes out is something that stays, oh my God, I'm actually getting chills. I have to say there has been some houses or some places I've gone that I've been a little bit scared to like open the cupboard and look inside. For me, this boy, he's fueled nightmares for sure. He goes up there. I know. Wild. This is an Australian entry, so I'm really happy to have an Australian film here. Lake Mungo is this really interesting kind of found footage mockumentary mix, but I find Lake Mungo to be more sad than anything. It is, again, a film that focuses on the vibe and the kind of direction the story goes to reveal the true scare or the true, terror. But it does have that overwhelming vibe that I feel the hair in the back of your neck. I don't think, although there are a couple of moments that are meant to shock you, that it is about jump scares. I don't think it's thrilling. It's a slow and soft movie that you really need to sink into to get the full effect. And for that, I do think it is an effective movie, don't get me wrong, but it's chilling. Also, all of these movies are scary. I didn't pick films that weren't, so we haven't incorporated anything in here that I don't find scary at all. I mean, I do find obviously one's more scary than the others, but I haven't put anything in here that is a baseline for not being scared at all, if that makes sense. We're going with the scariest films. Martyrs, one of my favorite films of all time. And this is probably the reason I didn't do, my top 9 and 10s of scare, because I started seeing a pattern with films like Martyrs. I love them, favorite. And that's why, because they actually are scary to me. And Martyrs is disturbing, it's gory, it's insane. Total like Evil Dead scream fest, but the ending is Nightmare Fuel. Ending is Nightmare Fuel. Like it really solidifies the ending, and I do think that this is one of the scariest movies. Not only the ending, the bathroom scene, that thing on the floor, crawling around, that is my nightmares. That is my nightmares. Midsommar, I don't think chilling, because although at the start there's a vibe, towards the end there's a different vibe, it doesn't really hold the same pace throughout the whole film. Instead, it's kind of like a journey or an adventure film where it just goes through different aspects. But there are 1 or 2 really big scenes. And this is what I'm finding really hard, because the film, although, cliff scene, the start, those are the ones that kind of jump out to me, or the end. I wouldn't call them jump scares, but they kind of are. Well, the first scene definitely is. The way they set it up, the way they actually do the reveal, that's technically a jump scare. Just not the traditional sense of one, a very creative one. But I do think that there's only 1 or 2 moments. It's not Nightmare Fuel. I don't think anyone is scared that this is going to happen to them. And I don't think it stays with you. Definitely it stays with you afterwards, but in more of a disturbing aspect than, haunting your dreams or scaring you. So for me, I would like to I want to put it between these 2. Oh, I don't want to. I really don't want to, because I don't want to put it next to jump scares, but I do think that there's only 1 or 2 moments. Chilling, maybe? Oof, this one's hard. Thrilling? No. Okay, I'm going to put it in chilling. It's just not scary. I don't find Midsommar to be scary. What happens to her is just shocking. It's a shocking film, which is why I would normally put it with jump scare. I want to put it with jump scares. It's not a jump scare. This is hard. And you know what? This just goes to show that you can't categorize scare. And so when I put a score next to my scare, when I do my reviews. That's why I find this so hard. I'm going to leave it in chilling because I really don't think it categorizes as jump scare. I hope you understand. They're interchangeable. Okay, from that to Paranormal Activity, again, a product of its time, and I was born in 1990, so just keep that in mind. Paranormal Activity is one of the scariest films for me. I can't help it. It was just something, you had to be there. Again, I'm sure people feel the same about Halloween, 100%. And I'm sure all of you who love Halloween probably think it's trash, but I think that Paranormal Activity is one of the scariest films I've ever seen. And it does keep me awake. It's one of those films, you know how it's not even a scream fest? When I watch this film, I'm always so scared to go to the bathroom afterwards that I've even asked my partner to come with me a couple of times. It gets me every time. I don't know why. It's the psychological element in that film is just spot on for me. Okay, the next one, we're getting personal again. Pet Sematary, I actually added in here. I know that this isn't a plug, but it kind of is. Pet Sematary is a good film to bring in because I just really wanted to talk about why I find this film scary. It's Zelda. If you didn't know, it's Zelda. It's always Zelda. Zelda is so terrifying and so scary. And even if you find the film to be cringe, which a lot of people do, you have to admit Zelda, there's just something spine tingling about her. She transcends this movie. I know I'm using that term a lot, but she really does. If you think of scares in this film, it's just her. It's nothing else. I don't even think it might be a little bit of a thrilling film, but for me, it lands in jump scares because even though I love this film, I just want to say there's nothing wrong with jump scares. Zelda is the ultimate jump scare. She's just there, and she's there for a while. So I guess it isn't a jump scare, but she's definitely a great example of a film that has one or two scary moments that really stick with you. And that's, one of my favorite films of all time, and it's down in the jump scare. So I'm here to show, there's no judgment. Next is Rec, which is a Spanish film. Those who know will know. Rec is set in an apartment complex where a journalist goes in and it's like a zombie outbreak. It's pretty intense, found footage. Because of the POV perspective in the dark, it is scary. It's a scary film. I would put it in jump scares, kind of. I would put it in thrilling, kind of, because it is a thrilling movie, and a lot of things are jumping out. But would I put this in Scream Fest? Maybe, because there are more than that. It is cover your eyes kind of situation. There's a lot going on, and if you watch this in the dark, it's all of these together. It's chilling, it's jump scares, it's thrilling. I think it's a scream fest. A film that you recommended, I know this is not horror, but I did want to put this in here just to show another example of a film that isn't horror that can be nightmare fuel. This one obviously goes straight up. Nightmare fuel. I just wanted to show how films can break through genres, and a lot of what I talk about on this channel is dark cinema and not always horror based, and I do find sometimes that can be, if not more interesting, because it's showing a different path to horror. If you haven't seen Darren Aronofsky's Requiem for a Dream, you can't come back from it. Like, that is why it's nightmare fuel. You cannot come back from it. There's scenes in that you cannot erase from that brain. It's not a scream fest. It is thrilling. It's not jump scares, and it is a little bit chilling, but it's the best anti-drug commercial you've ever seen. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you haven't seen it, I didn't recommend it. Someone else put it on the list, and I just thought it'd be cool to add and have something stick out and really make its way straight to the top, even though it's not considered a horror film. Because it really does beg the question at the end of the day, what is horror? Because if you can get nightmare fuel out of other films, like, where is the line? And I'm actually not a big fan of categorizing things, which is why it's really funny to do this and just fun to have the conversation. But yeah, it's just a great example of a film that is nowhere near any horror aspect, but it technically is a horror, I guess. We've got The Ring and we've got Ringu. I'll put them next to each other just because people mention both of them. And I do think that they probably sit on the same plane. I like The Ring better, only because I like the character development just a little bit more, but they are very similar films. But Screamfest, they are both chilling. Oh, this is a good one, because I would say that their atmosphere is more chilling than thrilling. It's not like they're chasing something the whole time. You know, there's the boat scene and then that. It's just more of a vibe, isn't it? It's more of a vibe. There are a few jump scares for sure. I think it would sit between the two, but it is one of the most scary films. If I wasn't going to put it higher, I would say it would be a jump scare, like a chilling jump scare film. But the imagery, going back to imagery, the imagery in these films are nightmare fuel. And I have had nightmares, especially about The Ring, with the closet scene, which is technically a jump scare. The closet scene and the tape itself, it is, for me, nightmare fuel, the well, the whole imagery. It is. I'm going to put both of them up there because they both have that same imagery. It's just the story. I like the way they tell the story a little bit more in The Ring. But Ringu and The Ring both have very similar imagery, obviously. And I do think they're nightmare fuel. Look at this. Guys, I'm scared by things. I just don't let you know. Sinister. Another great example of a chilling film because it does have that dread vibe the entire time. The ominous droning is intense in this one, and there are one or two jump scare moments. I'm actually going to, I know a lot of people are really scared by this one, but I don't think it's scream, it's more squirm, you know? It's not like you're screaming when you hear about this film. You're squirming in your seat, which makes it more chilling. And I don't think it's very thrilling. I love it. I feel like a Dr. Seuss book right now. I don't think it's very thrilling, but I do think it's extremely chilling. I'm going to put this one in jump scares because there's one moment, and I don't think it's nightmare fuel, but the moment is with the lawnmower. That is a jump scare. There's definitely a couple of, I mean, the film is based on jump scares, let's be real. It's based on jump scares, but it does have that beautiful, that intense, disturbing dread underneath. So it really layers up the scares, you know what I mean? Okay, next, The Blair Witch Project. I love this film. This is one of my favorite films. And it is, I would say it's nightmare fuel, but for me, it wasn't turn off the TV, still scared. You are scared when you think about it and you're in the moment, but I don't think I'm scared later. I don't feel like I'm in the woods, you know? It doesn't get to me in that regard, but it might get to other people in that regard, but I just don't feel like the Blair Witch is gonna come get me, you know? It's not the same as the Candyman who can go anywhere. And I don't think oh, you know what? I don't think it's a scream fest, but it's definitely a cover your eyes. I think it kind of lands in a weird way between thrilling and scream fest. That's what I think, actually. I'm going to put it in scream fest only because it makes me so uncomfortable in a good way that I'm moving around, I'm fidgeting, I'm covering my eyes. I find it hard to watch some of it because it is so scary. So I do think it actually belongs up there. I went back and forth because there are a couple of really intense scenes that a lot of people refer to, so it may fall in jump scare at some point. And it does have a chilling atmosphere, but the way it progresses and where it kind of goes, it feels more, I think it's a scream fest. This is really hard. Next is The Descent, which for me is clear cut. This one is not hard at all. You want to guess? It's thrilling. For sure it's thrilling. The Descent, if you haven't seen it, is about a group of women who go into a cave system and get stuck there, but they're not alone, something else is down there. It's definitely got a lot of action. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. It is so thrilling. It's the definition of thrilling. The Exorcist, this was the other front runner with Hereditary. A lot of people think this is the scariest film ever. I think The Exorcist has more of a vibe. Sure, Pazuzu pops up in the kitchen, but it's more of a vibe. Is that weird to say? It's more of a shocking film that is there to shock the audience and disturb the audience than it is got scares that go through it. But again, a product of its time, it would be different to what you were scared of at that time. And I'm sure if you're, you know, you've got religious ties, it would be nightmare fuel. But for me, it's not. And I'm going to have to grade it on what I think because you're not here. But you can definitely let me know in the comments. For me, The Exorcist is, I don't want to say it's just chilling though, because there is a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more of an urgency, you know what I mean? Where these ones are kind of like slow, happen over, I mean, this definitely happens more over a week or whatever, but, or a couple of weeks. For me, there's more of an urgency, especially towards the end of the film and like what kind of happens. So for me, I'm going to put this in thrilling. I kind of think I'm like, is Jane Doe more thrilling? No, it's chilling. It's definitely like there's something going on, but we're not too sure. Where The Exorcist is like, we know exactly where this bitch is, you know? Captain Howdy, we see you. The Fourth Kind, aliens are something I believe in. I want to believe, I do believe. So this is great to go next to The Exorcist. So it's kind of hard for me because this does scare me. It does scare me. Turn off the TV, I am scared. But I don't think it lingered in my nightmares. I'm going to really shock you guys and put this one up with Screamfest because I feel really uncomfortable during this film and it's one I have to look away from. If you have not seen it, it's not a great film, but it does get me. And for me, it's more than 1 or 2 jump scares, even though I think that's where a lot of people would lie. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me fidget. It's like one of those films that claims to be real, using a bunch of mixed footage about alien abductions. And I don't know why, it just makes me very uncomfortable in the best way possible. It's definitely, for me, a Screamfest, a film that in the cinemas, I was all over the place, could not sit still. Total jelly bean. The Others, which is... I love The Others. The Others is such a timeless film. Nicole Kidman walking around a spooky dooky house, locking doors, opening doors and locking them again. The Others is such a fun film and it is really scary. There are 1 or 2 definitely scary moments, especially with her daughter. I'm sure you know exactly which I'm talking about. But for me, those aren't considered as jump scares. It's more of a chilling film. That's where it, you know, gives good company to all of these guys. I really like the chilling films, to be honest. If you're looking at a certain category and feeling really good about it, yeah, that's probably shows exactly what kind of scares you like. Next, The Shining. The Shining for me, again, depends on where and who and what you're scared of. And for a lot of people, this would be nightmare fuel, having this happen to their family. For me, the film holds a constant buzz, low frequency of dread the entire film. As soon as they get there, I mean before they get there, Jack Torrance is fucking off his rocker. And you know, that was the main difference between, you know, Kubrick's one and Stephen King's one, is the intent and, you know, the backstory of Jack. And for me, it's just chilling from the get-go, from the title scene. In the title sequence and they're driving through the mountains, there is something chilling from the start. There are thrilling moments, but do I think it's chilling or thrilling? Actually, you know what? There are a lot more thrilling moments. It's a chilling and thrilling adventure. I'm putting this one in thrilling. I do think that there's a lot more kind of chase in it, a lot more character blocking. So I think thrilling. It would definitely go on thrilling. Okay, The Strangers. This film definitely has a baseline of just dread that carries through, but I do think it's more of a heightened, timely aspect where someone's trying to break in. I am not scared of break-in movies, so I don't find this to be nightmare fuel or Screamfest. I don't even think that there would be a couple of jump scares for sure, but I think it's more of a thrilling film. It's more about the action. It's more about the character blocking again. Another one right next to The Shining. There's definitely ones that I find more scary. I'd probably say The Descent and The Exorcist are more scary in this category, but I think you can see what I mean. Okay, The Woman in Black. A couple of you said this film was scary, but for me, it relies more on just a couple of jump scares. I know that the whole point of the film is to be a haunted film. It's meant to be like a haunted house and have that chilling and thrilling aspect, but for me, it was more reliant on its jump scares. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. And then last but not least, I did not pick the order of these, is 13 Ghosts. 13 Ghosts for me, I loved this film growing up, and I am a product of this time. You know, like this film is in my demographic. It was made for me. It was made for people who were getting into horror at the same time, which I was. It's a remake and it relies on a lot of creativity, which I love about it. But I did watch it not too long ago and it just did not feel the same. And it was not as scary as it was when I was little. So if you put this down and you have not watched it recently, don't watch it. Keep it in your head how it is. I love the creativity of it, and I was scared of, like, I think it's called the Jekyll, the one in the box, the ghost in the box was really scary. But again, I'm gonna have to put it next to Woman in Black because for me, it relies on jump scares. So I think it's more of a jump scare movie than being thrilling or chilling. But I mean, it does have a heightened sense of fear from the start. They're getting themselves into something, but it is more of a jump scare film. All right, that's it. Wow, that was so much harder than I thought it was going to be. But we have to remember, like, we keep comparing films that are so different to each other, and it's so hard to compare apples and oranges. And if anything, this kind of just shows you that it is hard to put a horror movie on a sliding scale. What scares everyone is different. And although people can say films are subjectively bad or whatever, you can't say something is subjectively scary because it depends on the person. And I surprised myself by putting a few in these in different categories than I initially would have thought they went to. And I do challenge you to do the same. I'm going to link it down below. It's really interesting to think about this because it just shows how much horror and talking about horror relies so much more on our descriptions and what we actually say and how we actually feel about the movie than putting it in a box or in a category or, you know, putting a number next to it, how we rate it, because it is about the viewer and the, you know, the eye of the beholder or whatever. Yeah, it's really interesting. And thank you so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed this. It was more of a conversation, obviously, again, not subjective. So I hope you enjoyed the conversation and it sparked a few thoughts for you. If you did have any thoughts, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what is the scariest film to you or the scariest category that we've got here and why. I would love to know why. Because some films just stick with you and you just don't know why until you go to therapy. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I'd love to have you here. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Stay safe and stay spooky. Bye, friends.